The Gospel of John, chapter 9. While he was passing by, he noticed a man who had been blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, teacher, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be born blind?" And Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed and illustrated in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world, giving guidance through my word and works." When he said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with his saliva and spread the mud like an ointment on the man's eyes. And he said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which is translated sent. So he went away and washed and came back seeing. So the neighbors and those who used to know him as a beggar said, "Is this not the man who used to sit and beg?" Some said, "It is he." Still others said, "No, but he looks like him." But he kept saying, "I am the man." So they said to him, "How were your eyes opened?" He replied, "The man called Jesus made mud and smeared it on my eyes and told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed and received my sight." Then they asked him, "Where is he?" He said, "I do not know." Then they brought the man who was formerly blind to the Pharisees. Now it was on the Sabbath day that Jesus made the mud and opened the man's eyes. So the Pharisees asked him again how he received his sight, and he said to them, "He smeared mud on my eyes, and I washed, and now I see." Then some of the Pharisees said, "This man Jesus is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a man who is a sinner, a non-observant Jew, do such signs and miracles?" So there was a difference of opinion among them. Accordingly, they said to the blind man again, "What do you say about him since he opened your eyes?" And he said, "It must be that he is a prophet." However, the Jews did not believe he had been blind and had received his sight until they called the man's parents. Then they asked them, "Is this your son, whom you say was born blind? Then how does he now see?" His parents answered, "We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But as to how he now sees, we do not know. Or who has opened his eyes, we do not know. Ask him and stop asking us. He is of age. He will speak for himself and give his own account of it." His parents said this because they were afraid of the leaders of the Jews. For the Jews had already agreed that if anyone acknowledges Jesus to be the Christ, he would be put out of the synagogue, excommunicated. Because of this, his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So a second time they called the man who had been born and said to him, "Give God glory and praise for your sight. We know this man Jesus is a sinner separated from God." Then he answered, "I do not know whether he is a sinner separated from God, but one thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see." So they said to him, "What did he actually do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered, "I already told you, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again and again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" And at that remark they stormed at him and jeered, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know for certain that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he is from." The man replied, "Well, this is astonishing. You do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know according to your tradition that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone fears God and does his will, he hears him. Since the beginning of time, it has never been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he would not be able to do anything like this, because God would not hear his prayer." They answered him, "You were born entirely in sin from head to foot, and you presume to teach us?" Then they threw him out of the synagogue. Jesus heard that they had put him out of the synagogue, and finding him, he asked, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered, "Who is he, sir? Tell me, so that I may believe in him." Jesus said to him, "You have both seen him, and in fact, he is the one who is talking with you." And he said, "Lord, I believe in you, and your word." And he worshipped him with reverence and awe. Then Jesus said, "I came into this world for judgment, to separate those who believe in me from those who reject me, to declare judgment on those who choose to be separated from God, so that the sightless would see and those who see would become blind." Some Pharisees who were with him heard these things and said to him, "Are we also blind?" Jesus said to them, "If you were blind to spiritual things, you would have no sin, and would not be blamed for your unbelief. But since you claim to have spiritual sight, you have no excuse, so your sin and guilt remain."